Thank you, Drew. Thank you all for being here. Santa Clara graduate. Now, the truth be told, both Santa Clara graduates, I couldn't get into Cal and Berkeley, so it's not all about Cal and Berkeley, but Santa Clara is an outstanding institution, and of course, Drew is a much better baseball player, and now has moved on in his life. I'm still stuck in public service, which is hardly a place to feel stuck. I'm very enlivened by it, but I'm trying to make public life a little bit more entrepreneurial, and that's why I'm here. I'm here because I admire the work you're doing, and I'm frustrated by some of the work we're doing in government because it doesn't necessarily match that entrepreneurial and innovative spirit that's alive in this room today, and it's alive throughout not only the city, this state, but across the country and around the world. I want to just say a few things. You know, we're in San Francisco, in one of the most diverse cities, in the most diverse state, in the world's most diverse democracy. And by and large, people are living together and advancing together and prospering together across every conceivable and imaginable difference. Why do I say that? Birthplace of the United Nations. Why do I bring that up in the context of APPNation? I do, at the end of the day, make this strong point, that nothing matters more than our capacity to recruit and retain the best and the brightest minds from around the world. And that what makes San Francisco, what makes this state, what makes this country special at our best is that quality of imagination, that innovative and entrepreneurial spirit, that ability to retain the best and the brightest minds. And that's why it's right that we're in a city that doesn't tolerate its diversity. We truly try to celebrate our diversity each and every day, that human capital, that one differentiator. And that differentiator is alive and well today because you wouldn't be here had it not been for that differentiator. You have a million other cities that you can be doing this first conference, but you chose San Francisco, the birthplace of life science and biotechnology, the home of the California Stem Cell Institute, one of the most dynamic cities still in this very difficult economic climate, the home of Twitter and Ustream and companies like Wikipedia or Wikimedia Foundation, Salesforce.com, Foursquare, as he was mentioning, and TechCrunch, and all these remarkable companies that are now starting to take shape here in San Francisco. Playdom and Playfish, the gaming industry really taking off. Zynga and work that Mark Pingus is doing and their growth and that potential, all taking shape here in this small 47.5 square mile city that we call home. Again, because this is where the talent is. That ability to recruit and retain the best and the brightest minds. Almost 40+%, in fact, not almost, over 40% of the people that live in the city have bachelor degrees or greater. Not many other cities have that concentration of talent. So at the end of the day, the primary function of a mayor, it seems to me, is create the conditions so that we can create an environment where people like you can come together and do extraordinary things. Now, back to my point, and I won't take too much of your time. Government needs that entrepreneurial spirit now more than ever for obvious reasons. Two that are self-evident to all of you. One is we're broke. And the second is you don't have that much confidence in us anymore to solve your problems. And so it seems to me we are much better off taking some inspiration from you and the private sector and trying to inject it into government as we know it. My friend Tim O'Reilly came to me a couple years ago and he said, you know, he started talking about the notion of government as a vending machine, and that you basically pay your taxes and then you have a prescribed list of products or services, and you basically pull the lever and that product or service is dispensed. That's it. That's rather one-dimensional. But the opportunity to have you, our consumers, the taxpayers, the shareholders, to design government in your interest, individually and collective, is limitless. And that's really what I'm looking forward to in terms of the work that you're doing, not just for your own interest, not just for your private interest, but for the public good. And that's why a year and a half ago, with Tim and Matt Melloweg and others from WordPress, we came together and we put together an open data strategy for city government. We basically took a bunch of information, all this data set, and we put it in a machine-readable way, and we said, it's yours. This is your government. This is your information. Now go at it. Now figure out something to do with this information. Stuff that we could never have imagined, and my gosh, God forbid, would take us a year or two to go through a procurement process. You'd have to do an RFI, an RFQ, an RFP. You go to the lowest responsive bidder. You'd have to engage your value system and then go through a process where it goes through hearings at commission, and then the County Board of Supervisors makes its way to the mayor's office, and then by the time you get it out there, we ran out of money because we had a big budget deficit and nothing ever happened. You, on the other hand, have taken information and in real time put applications now that exist days, in some cases hours after we put the data up. You had apps out there, days, weeks, and months, and the cost of the taxpayers is zero. Let me give you some specific examples. We now have an app showcase, and if you go to sfdata.org, you'll get a lot of this data that we've now put up. And we're just barely getting started. We only have about 150 data sets. And we're just getting started because tomorrow actually, and it's coincidental, it truly is coincidental you're here, I'm going to require with an ordinance, I did an executive order, now I'm going to codify it with an ordinance to make San Francisco government responsible for putting up thousands of data sets from every city department, be it the Department of Environment, be it the Department of Public Works, be it the Police Department, the Fire Department, et cetera, to do the following. I'll just give you some examples. Our Muni. We put some Muni information up. Company out of nowhere comes together and called Rootsie and takes information that exists so you can go on your PDA, and instead of worrying about whether or not we're on time with our public transit, you can find out in real time exactly when that bus will arrive. You've got mothers that came together because they actually are working more collaboratively to celebrate a lot of the work that's been done with our playgrounds in San Francisco, and they put together a mom map application which uses the GPS in your hand and can tell you exactly where a playground or park is within your area. You've got crime mapping that is being done now, so if you want to make sure you come into San Francisco, you're a little nervous, you read about that tragedy with that German tourist, and you're just not so confident and sure where you are, and you're going to stay in a hotel, but you're not sure what the Tenderloin is, if that's the right place, or you want to be, someplace in Union Square, you can go on this crimemapping.com application, and you could get all the latest real-time crime mapping data, well ahead of anything that the city itself produces. We're doing this for literally dozens and dozens and dozens of applications. How about this? How many of you, I imagine everyone, but some of you may have never had the indignity of not waking up in time when those street sweepers are outside. It's as if government purposely does this to you. You're working late, and it's always 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. they have to do the street sweeping. I mean, why not 7 or 8 or 9 by the time you get out and get in your car and get to work? It's always that hour or two before, and you don't want to wake up. Well, now we have an application. By the way, we were going to spend over $30,000 to put this together. It would have taken us months to go through that procurement process. Again, we can't sole source. And folks came up like that for no cost, and now we have an application that will tell you and warn you when those street sweepers are coming so you don't get those outrageous tickets. These are the kind of things that are very practical that make a big difference in your lives. Very soon, incidentally, you're going to be able to go. This will be the first city in America that has congestion parking meter pricing, where you're actually going to have an inventory of all the on-street parking spaces, and you're going to determine the availability of parking in real time on your PDA, so you don't have to go circle around the corner 20 or 30 times, called SF Park. Again, three-dimensionalizing. This is the future of government. Real transparency, real accountability, you designing government in your image. I think this is an extraordinary thing. I think this conference is an extraordinary conference. I think you're going to look back and remember this day 5, 10 years from now when you can't get into this conference, when they can't just use Moscone North, but it's South and the other Moscones that we'll be building in the next few years, because hundreds of thousands of people are trying to descend in this region to take advantage of this extraordinary moment in time and that moment that you will create as you build, again, that quality of imagination and move your ideas forward. I just wanted to be here, and I'll end as that local government representative saying, please don't forget about us. Transparency, accountability, efficiency, real-time information in the hands of the people that deserve it the most, the taxpayers themselves. Government not as a vending machine, but government as something altogether different. It's in your minds. It's in your imagination now, and I'm just here to encourage you to unleash it and let you know that San Francisco wants to continue to play a role front and center, and this state, California, needs to do exactly the same at a time of fiscal crisis and a crisis, again, of confidence. We can't afford to do anything less. So, Drew, thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for organizing this, and your friends at Sequoia. Thank you guys for all the great work you're doing. And let me close with this.